Welcome to the Compassion Stories podcast, a conversation where we discuss everyday issues with a purpose to find hope in every situation. To hear more inspiring stories of hope, head over to our website compassion.com.au/podcast or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Welcome to the podcast. My name is Michael Cauchi, your host for today's conversation. We had the great opportunity to speak with a good friend of Compassion and one of Australia's favourite artists, Dami Im. Sponsoring her first Compassion child when she was only 17 years old, Dami has always held the work of Compassion close to her heart. In this conversation, we really wanted to hear what it meant for Dami to follow her dreams and her desires through challenges in transition and taking bold steps within those circumstances. Hey, welcome to the Compassion podcast.
Thank you.
That's Dami Im.
Yes, that's me.
Hey, welcome.
Hi.
I had a bunch of notes here that I was going to intro you with. You want to hear it?
Okay.
It was Dami Im. No, I got nothing. No, you're amazing. Thank you for your time and hanging out with us. I firstly just wanted to say a huge thank you from the Compassion family. You've been a friend to Compassion, and seeing over all the lives that you've impacted, children living in poverty, you just carry it so boldly. And like from all of us, we just want to give you the massivest hug, high five that we could ever give you. Thank you for being such a heart of gold. Being with you in the field, traveling with you, getting to know you and your story. I think you're just such a I'm almost in tears because I just
we haven't even started.
I just love the heart that you approach your work with, and of how you just kind of do it for the kids.
Oh, thank you. When I love Compassion and what it does, and I love the people that work at Compassion. If I didn't like you,
It'd be off.
I would quit. No, seriously, Compassion, like working with Compassion has been like one of the most, big highlights of my career, like really. Just the experiences I've had traveling and meeting the kids over there, seeing the staff that actually work locally. It's just like it was so eye-opening every time I went, and especially right after off the back of winning X Factor, and when I was all like, there's so much going on, so much changes in my life. Compassion really is like one thing that really kept me grounded and helped me realize like what this was all about, and sort of not get lost in the storm of this craziness.
I definitely, like you said it, your moment at Eurovision, like post that time, and when you had the opportunity, I guess, to tour Europe, and instead you did the Uganda trip. Do you remember back?
Yes, I remember.
I just remember like that's gutsy. Like, was that a tough decision for you to make?
It was actually, it's weird. I have to tell you the story. So before I knew I was going to Eurovision, we planned this trip to Uganda. Okay, so this trip the date was planned like a year in advance or something.
Right.
We said we'll go then, we'll sponsor a kid there, and we're going to go and meet her. Everything was set up. And then Eurovision came up, and it happened to be just before that trip. And of course, like Eurovision is such a great opportunity for a singer, for an artist. So I went, and on the night of the grand final, somehow everyone was saying, you know what, Australia has a really good chance of winning this. And that was unexpected. Like, I didn't go in thinking, I'm going to win this. I just went in, hoping to do well, but like being realistic, you don't know if you're going to come 10th or 20th or 5th, whatever. So when they said I was going to win, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what does this all mean?
Yeah.
And I had to suddenly prepare the winner's speech, like think about what I'm going to say in case I was going to win. And I had this, I didn't win, by the way, for those of you that didn't know, I came second.
Yeah.
But that night I had prepared sort of a mini speech and points of what I'm going to say. And I was really confused. I was like, what does this mean? Like, what do I have to say? And one of the things I was going to say is, I think I am winning this because God wants me to put attention to these children living in poverty,
right,
because I've got this plan prepared for me. And when I didn't win, you know, it was a no-brainer. It was like, well, I'm still getting this much attention, so why not give this attention to compassion and this trip to Uganda and the children over there? And it was just like, you know, it to me, it was like this perfect timed thing that no one could have planned except
the maker.
Himself.
Right.
Yes.
You're a rarity, man, because that's boldness right there. And I love that. I think it would be so easy to get taken up in the spotlight, I guess. Do you like the spotlight?
I've always liked the spotlight.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
let's be honest. Like, I mean, I'm like shy, and I'm still like, you know, like I'm not the sort of, you know, person who gets the most attention when I walk into a room. Like, I feel uncomfortable doing that. I'm not a big talker, but ever since I was young, I always wanted to stand out, like secretly, you know, and got really jealous when someone else was getting all the attention. So I'm like a closeted attention seeker kind of thing. But yeah. So I think like when I get all this attention, I like it, but in a way I'm sort of asking myself, like, what's this all about? You know, like, does this make me selfish? Am I going to, you know, is this like greed going to make me explode and become like this person I don't recognize? And I think I need a purpose, like a real purpose, to know what this is all for.
Right.
And I guess without that, you know, anyone would get lost, and I would be so lost. I would be asking for more and trying to, you know, I'd be getting so self-absorbed. Like, I think even now, some days, you know, in this industry, like, you can get really self-absorbed. Like, there's no end to it, no limit to how much you can focus on yourself and your career.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, compassion definitely is one of the things that, you know, that
keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
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 I like that, because when you do see it, I mean, the first time for you seeing the reality of poverty, is it in India?
India was the first trip, yeah.
I remember seeing it the first time, and I just remember being so shocked. I was just like, but they're so joyful. I just could not balance that in my head.
I think at first I was a bit confused. Yeah,
Right.
just like you said, like, it was sort of like they're living in this poverty, and their houses are just like something you can't even imagine. Like, it's just dirt floors and the smell of, you know, garbage just around the corner, and children playing in this garbage. Like, it was horrible, but then also there was that joy, and people, that's just their day-to-day life. So it didn't really hit me at first, to be honest. It was sort of like, oh yeah, like, this is it, I guess. This is how they live. And what does this all mean? Like, it took me a while for it to like process within myself, and then go, wow, like, you know, this is them just sort of living in this condition, and, you know, they almost can't dream or hope for a better future, so they sort of live in it, and they kind of have accepted it, a lot of them. And I think, you know, like, you just learn so much from them. Like, they're just very, you know, they're grateful for just the smallest thing that they're able to get. And like, we have everything here. For them, they barely have anything, but they can find the joy within that. And I think, like, there's so much to learn from that, but also, like, seeing the kids living there, being able to go to school. That was one image that I couldn't forget. Those kids that live in those terrible homes, then dress up in their school uniforms, going to school, wearing a, you know, little school backpack that's too big for them, going to school. Like, that really symbolized hope for me. And for me and Noah, not more so Noah, he would just like talk about this for ages after the trip. Like, wow, you know, that's that contrast between like the reality and the hope that they have for the future, because they're investing in their children's future.
It's so true. I love that. Let's you're talking about dreams, right? Let's press pause for a second. Rewind the clock back to when you're little and back in South Korea. Growing up in, I guess, that kind of culture, was there ever the option for you to do something administrative or academic, or like, was it hard for you to follow the arts thread?
You know, my mum is an opera singer, so
amazing.
So that's that. And since I was young, I was really good at the piano. So, you know, like in Korea, everyone at the time was learning to play the piano. It was like a trend. So, you know, like that stereotype Asian kids thing, like every one of my friends were learning the piano or the violin or the cello. So that was normal. But when I came to Australia, I was 9 years old and I didn't speak any English. But when I played the piano at assembly once, I could see everyone like really surprised, like, whoa, like that girl's actually good at something. Like we thought she was so dumb, and like, I think that's what I imagined, you know, we thought she was like this weird thing who can't even talk. And yeah, now she's like doing all these like Mozart, Beethoven. So from that point on, piano became my identity, and music was like my pride and my survival mechanism in a way. So then my school music teacher told me I should audition for the conservatorium, Young Con at the time. So I auditioned and I got in. So I would be getting lessons from the big professors and doing recitals, and piano, classical piano was my thing. So I was always going to become a classical concert pianist.
Right.
Like I had no other choice. Like my parents had big hopes in me doing that. So like playing at the Carnegie Hall and, you know, all those things.
Yeah.
But I actually really didn't enjoy playing classical music, to be honest. Like I just did it because I was good at it and I was getting praised for it. So I would be practicing every day, and then one day I discovered pop and K-pop music. K-pop came first, and I was like, okay, I'm going to practice these songs. I'm going to try recording it on my computer. You know, I'm sure singing can't be that hard. Everybody sings. So I recorded myself on my computer in my room. Yeah. And I played it back. And I remember listening and realizing that I sounded really shocking. Like I was so bad. Like I was so disappointed at how bad I was. But I really was I really wanted to do well. Like I wanted to become like the K-pop people. So I would practice every day, you know, for like years and years. I'd just be practicing my singing. And so, yeah, I went to university doing classical piano like my parents wanted me to. But it was more like me trying to tell my parents I'm going to not be a pianist and be a pop singer. That was the big challenge.
Thing. Right.
Yeah. So I was always going to be in music, but just what type of classical is okay. But, you know, doing pop for my parents sounded like, what do you mean? You know, you're going to starve, you know?
It's awesome. What was that conversation like? Do you remember? Like, were there multiple conversations with your parents?
Yeah. So I remember, you know, I was in the car with Dad.
How old were you?
This was I would have been 20.
Yeah. Okay.
So just after I finished my piano degree, or just about to finish the piano degree, I told him that's what I wanted to do. I want to do singing. And Dad sort of said, you know, it's going to be really hard because you're actually starting from scratch. Like you don't know anyone in the pop world. Like you're going to have to start from the bottom and, you know, do everything all over again. Whereas piano, you're sort of ahead of everyone because of all the work you've done, the practice. It's going to be years of hard work, and you might actually not get anywhere by the end of it because you need to be lucky as well. And you've got to be super talented. Everything has to align. And if you still want to do that, knowing that it might not work out, then we'll support you.
Yeah.
And so that was that. And they supported me from that on. He drove me to all the gigs. I used to sing at a lot of church gigs in Korea and get invited to like little youth groups where there's like 20 kids sitting there in a rural area in the mountains. And Dad drove me selling CDs.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. How good is that when parents are just, my parents, they're so funny. They'll tell me, Michael, you need to get a government job. I'm like, I don't want to do that. But like whatever dreams I'll say, but I want to do this. And they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. We'll support you.
Yeah.
I just love that moment of it's like, you know, they kind of have this mentality of they want what's best for us.
Of course. And they want you to be happy, I think.
And they want you to be happy, which I think, you know, is supreme over that.
But I can imagine how scary that might be. Like, I mean, I don't have children yet, but like imagine you have
Little Zeph.
You can imagine Zeph, like if she wants to do something that you don't really like or you don't know is gonna you know, be secure enough, like it'd be scary.
Yeah. I think she at the moment has got this fascination with being a trapeze artist. That scares the jeepers out of me.
Okay, that's a bit more challenging than.
I was like, all right, let's see how this one plays out. Oh man, I love when in that dynamic of parents and saying the old school way of like, this is how you should do it. This, you know, cut textbook how it should. This is the safe thing to do. But for you to follow that, you know, that path. First thing I want to know.
Okay.
You've got a massive voice, right? Yes, you do.
Yes,
I love
yes.
it. It's amazing. Every time I hear you sing, it just
loud.
It's amazing. I was just like, where does that come from? Do you remember when you were like getting to that time of, you know, hitting? Like, can you go higher? Or like, how high can you go? Like, is it just? Was it shocking to you when you were like, whoa, that thing's inside me?
I think I could sing high.
Yeah.
I'm so stupid like saying this, but I didn't used to like belt
it out,
so much. I think X Factor sort of pushed me to do that because, you know, it's a competition, singing competition. So for people to vote for you, you needed to do something. Like, you know, you have to be special. You have to impress people. It's not just like, you can't just cruise and expect that to be enough. So I think that's when I started to push. And then when, you know, like I remember singing Purple Rain on TV, and that was when I really had to belt those notes. And, you know, the producers and there's a singing coach there who guides you, like, you know, tells you like what's going to be best for this arrangement. And he's like, Gary Pinto, shout out. He's like, push, go harder, go do it again, do more. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And then like, yeah, that's great. And that's when I was like, oh, this is cool.
Right.
Like I can actually do this. And it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Do you thank your mother for that muscle?
Muscle.
The opera singing is within.
You know, my mom always told me like this sounds bad, but she said, oh, your voice is like your dad's. It's not strong enough for you. And she was being honest. Like when I was a kid, like I used to lose my voice all the time. And she's like, oh, your brother has a better singing voice than you. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And he doesn't even sing. So.
Where you're at right now in your career, and the things that you've kind of followed through and chased, sometimes like chasing a certain dream or to become what you've kind of come comes at a cost, personally and even for a simple thing like security or like getting like a normal 9-to-5 job. What are the kind of the things for you along your way that you've kind of had to sacrifice or that you've had to shelf for a bit?
I guess, you know, spending time with friends is because you're kind of always traveling, and until you're not, like this job is like you're busy every day, you're flying everywhere, you know, all different places, no sleep, and then you come home and you've got nothing for like 2 weeks or something, and then nobody is there. I have my family, so
Yes.
I'm lucky. But with my friends, it's really hard because they're like, oh, Dami's always busy. She's never available. So by the time I'm actually ready, I'm like, hey guys, you there? They're like, oh, actually, like I've got plans, and I can't really plan things in advance. So yeah, and even with my church, like I go to a really great little church, and I love them, but it's like sometimes I can't promise that I'll be at the retreat or that particular event, or it's like my job is so irregular. So I guess that's one thing. But the church friends, they've been so accommodating. Like they're always welcoming. Like when I'm back, they'll be like, she's back now, so we'll catch up now.
So relationships is a huge thing.
Yeah.
That's it's true. It's tough, I think.
You
can call me anytime, Dami. Anytime you want.
Thanks, Michael. But I think I hear the same thing with like parents. They say people just assume you're not available because of your kids, and they're like, no, I want to socialize as well sometimes, and nobody calls me anymore.
It's just patience.
Is that sad?
I know.
How do you deal with that?
With you. I think it's always you always just got to go again and have the courage to go again and to
keep asking. Yeah,
exactly.
I know. So I do appreciate when people, when my friends ask me, like,
do you want to call them out right now? Let's call them out. Let's go away. Stephanie. I don't know if that's someone of your friends. Call me.
Michael.
Yeah, sorry. I will.
Michael.
And I'm sure for Noah as well, like that would be difficult. You traveling. I mean, a lot of the times he does come with you, which is great. But I mean, he's studying, he's working. For your relationship, how do you guys kind of keep that healthy and keep that good?
Yeah, it's interesting. It should be really hard for us, but for some reason, like Noah's never, like, he's just always happy. Like not always happy, but he's never like, oh, like complaining about anything. He's always like, oh, like, he's got so much on his plate. But I'll be like, can you come with me to my shows this weekend? And he'll be like, yeah, I'll come. But I'll be like, but then you got to study, like you got to do your assignment. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, don't come. He's like, but I want to. I'm like, don't. Like he's always like, I'll do it. Like I think he prioritizes our relationship over anything else. Even like sometimes his assignment suffers,
right?
Or his work. He's like, oh yeah, I'll just say I can't come.
Leave or something.
Yeah, I'll just like use my leave. I'm like, oh, I don't think you have any left. Like, he's just like, it's that attitude though. When someone says like, oh, I'm gonna be there,
yes,
but they can't be there. But it's the thought that counts, and you don't fight over it because they really genuinely want to be there. And he prioritizes the relationship, knowing that I think it just gets rid of any kind of friction there that there might be otherwise.
I love Noah. He's like the most enabling, encouraging
Everyone's
dude
like,
ever.
including you, like, where's Noah? I'm
He's
like,
such a
hello, I'm
legend.
here.
We love you too. Don't get us wrong. But he's just, I think together you guys are just make this like spark, that's just so amazing. And when we've had the privilege of traveling and seeing the work of compassion through the field, you guys coming along, it's just beautiful to watch you both doing your thing and being so wonderful. What I've been super interested in lately is some of your later music that you've been writing.
Yes.
I have a confession to make. One of your shows, you wrote out the lyrics of Crying Underwater on some hotel notepad paper and you left it on your keyboard. I might have swiped it.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I was really sneaky. And
lol, really?
Yes. Anyway, I was reading the lyrics because like when you hear a song, you've got to hear it a few times to actually hear. And what I loved reading about it was just how much of a different tone it was taking. I mean, have you changed your style of writing? Have you had a revelation recently? I mean, what's happening in that area?
Yeah, so Crying Underwater, I think, is where it's my first song where I feel like I've been really open and vulnerable. Because I've always been a songwriter. I mean, since I started singing, I was writing songs, and, you know, I really believe that's one of my callings, is to write songs and tell stories. I feel so much satisfaction out of singing my own songs. But after being signed to a record label, after winning X Factor, like that writing process, it was really difficult for some reason. Like there was just so much pressure on me to write in a certain way.
Yeah.
And, you know, like there was just so much to think about, you know, what songs are going to be played on the radio, what, you know, it's got to sound like a pop song, and all these different things that just stopped me from being able to write like I used to from a deeper place.
Right.
So it took me a while, and I've since then, like this year, I've left my label, Sony, and they've been really, really great. And we've done some awesome things together. Like it's, you know, I'm so grateful. But they, you know, they were wanting me to do more covers, and I really needed to go back to writing my songs and singing original songs that are from my heart. And so this song, I was able to do that. And, you know, the reaction has been so different to my other songs, because before my other songs, they'd be like, oh, I love your song. It's great.
Right.
I love it. Whereas this one, they're like, oh my gosh, this song is about me. This sounds like how I feel, you know? And that's that extra level of connection.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, that's super, super special. I just get goosebumps every time, and it brings me to tears, because it's like, wow, like this is actually happening with my song. That's so special.
I love that, because, you know, you have something to say, and that's what songwriting is, right? You have something to say. You want to speak up and talk about it.
And you're also sharing about your experience, you know, with something that necessarily like you won't be able to talk about so freely. Like Crying Underwater it's a song about being depressed and not being able to tell someone about how sad you feel when you're alone. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to say, hey, Michael, I'm really depressed. Like that's really difficult. But in a song, you can sort of go there, and people can kind of indulge in that a little bit without feeling embarrassed or shameful about it.
Right. It's a bold move for you to write a song like that about your story. I mean, how much courage did that take for you to release something like that, super close to the heart?
It's scary, because you just sort of think like, oh, what are people going to think? What are they going to say? Are they going to think I'm crazy?
Right.
You know, people think I'm this happy person with like perfect relationship and perfect everything, the faith. What's she sad about? Like these were some of my fears. But then, no, the reaction was so different. Like even from, you know, my close friends or people that look so put together, they sort of went, that's me. And that really surprised me, you know. And that was kind of the point of the song. Like the most happiest looking people might not necessarily be always like that. They just don't talk about it.
It's human, right?
Exactly.
And that's what I love about it, is that more and more, I think we can get so safe in creating that look or that exterior to harden up and have it look like we're put together. But having that authentic conversation of, hey man, yeah, life's tough right now. It's a beautiful moment in humanity, I think. And
do you know what? Like, especially within the church community, I think there's so much, you know, the culture of like trying to look put together, and this perfect Christian, you know, shouldn't feel sad or shouldn't go through these relationship problems or, you know, problems with addiction or whatever it is. Like there's, I think a lot of churches, you know, we can all relate to that, you know. Yes. No one wants to talk about those things. Yeah. It's shameful. But I think it's important that churches acknowledge that we're going to go through, and we're not perfect. That's why we need God. We're not there because we're perfect and we know everything. It's very far from the truth. It's so true. As believers, to share that, you know, makes us stronger.
And I just love that you found an expression in music and to do that as well, and the boldness of releasing those tracks. It's so cool. I mean, I'm excited to see what else you're working on at the moment. What is next for you? What are you looking down towards?
This Crying Underwater is coming out, and then that's just the start of me releasing songs.
That's great.
Stay tuned.
It's so cool.
More songs coming. And I've got some really exciting overseas plans coming up that I'll be announcing soon. And I'm still touring regional Australia and the metro areas as well. So
my mum called me. She's like, "Dami's coming." It's like, "Dami's
Where
coming."
is she?
Wellington, Dubbo.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's awesome. Yes.
She was so pumped. I'm like, "Yeah, you're welcome."
So cute.
It'd be so good. Make sure you get along.
Yeah, I have to get a picture with her.
With my mum?
Send it to you. Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be awesome. If you could do it, that'd be awesome. If you could pause for a moment, do a review, look at your life. Have you had any moments of regret that you're like, I wish I did this, or wish I could have done that better, or... You can also say no, and you're super content.
I don't have any regret. I mean, like, you don't want to. I don't want to say, oh, I regret that part of my life. Like you learn from everything that you did, even the mistakes. But I guess you do. I do make mistakes. I guess. I wish that I could have taken more control over the career side of things a bit sooner. Just writing my own songs and releasing the songs that I wanted to write. That took me a while for me to get to this place. But then, back then I didn't really know what I know now. So I couldn't have really made those choices. So, you just keep learning and keep trying. I think although now I'm in my 30s, I just turned 30 last year, and you look back to your 20s and go, oh, I wish I wasn't so hard on myself.
Right.
That's one of the things. Like I was so hard on myself. Like when I couldn't write a good song, or when I didn't practice as much, like I would be so upset about that part of me, that I would cry and be so depressed about just how, the little failures I felt about myself.
Yeah.
And you look back and like, come on, like I was only young and I was learning. So
you did the best with what you did in that circumstance,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. So like, I think, it's good. It's okay to be upset, but don't be upset about being upset and, just be like wallow in being.
There's a song in that,
down.
Dami.
Upset
We should totally co-write something and just see what happens.
Play the beat.
Right now, like in your moment of like transition and change and shift and stuff, what's kind of a thing that if someone's going through something similar, they're kind of feeling in a point of like a difficult decision or to follow their heart for something, what would you kind of say to encourage them in their moment?
I have friends that are really contemplating change in their life, like they're not happy with their job or the path they've taken. I've actually have several close friends going through that. But what I truly believe, and this is what I talk to them about, is I think it's important that you take the step. You don't have to go super quickly, but as long as you're doing something to go the direction that you want to go and trying to be the person that you want to be, or if you want to change in your career, for example, that you are taking that course or you're, something little, and you just keep doing that. As long as you're going that direction, one day you'll be closer to that than just not doing anything. So yeah, I think it's important, like ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? And what are you actually doing to get there, even if it's something small each day? I think that's the most important thing.
Love it. Love it. That was such a good answer. You've crushed this podcast, this interview. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
So about those song lyrics, I'd like you to sign them so I can put them on eBay.
Wow, I'm curious. Like, did I even get the lyrics right on that sheet?
I'm pretty sure you did.
Probably like an early version with all the mistakes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thanks,
You've been
Michael.
incredible and amazing, and we wish you all the best in your next endeavours. And we'll see you again soon, my friend.
Thank you. You're amazing. I love talking to you. Come again.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Compassion Stories podcast. Hope can look different to many people, and we'd love to hear your story. Email us at podcast@compassion.com.au, or you can listen to other stories of hope at compassion.com.au/podcast.